Welcome to IndyStar's High School Hoops Weekly, the only show in the state dedicated to boys and girls high school basketball. I am Matt Glenesk, your host. I am joined, what once was a trio is now a duo. We have lost Matthew Van Tryon because girls' season's over, and it's boys basketball tournament time, and who better to have us walk us through it than Kyle Neddenriep, the star, the man, the myth, the legend. He is all those things. All right, so sectionals, wow.
It was fun.
Just a little bit. Yeah. I mean, Sectional 10 at Lawrence Central was what we thought it was going to be. Yeah. Some great games there. The Noblesville sectional was fantastic. The Mooresville sectional was competitive. Brownsburg emerging there, but I mean, buzzer beaters almost every night. Every night we did have buzzer beaters. The drama just, I mean, this is what you want from. This is what you expect from this time of year.
Absolutely. This is a sectional week is always the most fun week of the season. It's where the rivalries are ramped up. You got the best teams around playing against each other. A lot of times in the same sectional, and we saw that with Sectional 10 all year when we did these Fab 15s. We had several of those Sectional 10 teams were in the Fab 15, and it didn't disappoint. We had 2 3-point games, 1 2-point game, 1 8-point game. There was only really the first game of that sectional with Warren Central and Tech was not competitive. Even Lawrence Central, came out and Lawrence North kind of blew them away in the first half. They came back and made that a game. But really, I thought that Lawrence North, able to survive that, showed how tough they are down the stretch of both the Warren Central game in the championship and the Christmas Addicts game in the semifinal, and probably played as well as you can possibly play in their win over Lawrence Central. 22-0 run in that game. There's not a team in the state I think that has the highest level when they're playing at their highest level. Now you're not going to get that every single night, and they've had to survive playing against really good competition here in the sectional round. But there you see Tony Perkins. I thought that Donovan McCulley played a big role as well. You talk about the stars of this team, and there you see Shamar Avance and guys like Omar Cooper and Tony Perkins, DJ Hughes, we've written a lot about. Donovan McCulley wasn't even going to play basketball this year. Up early in the season, he's of course a star football player. Makes a huge shot late in that Warren Central game to tie the game, missed the free throw, but then on that possession, Lawrence North ended up getting the rebound. Perkins got the rebound, and then Hughes got the go-ahead putback to beat Warren. And really, the teams that were knocked out, Warren Central, Christmas Addicts, Lawrence Central, Cathedral, you go down the list of how good these teams are and how well their star players played was just really amazing. Sincere McMahon, I thought, had a great game. Malik Stanley in the championship game showed why he should be, a junior all-star for sure, and probably should be getting more recruiting looks than he is. But Lawrence North survives. I think that's escapes, whatever word you want to use, and they earned it. I mean, it was a very tough sectional, and they can breathe easy for a couple days now. But they're really a great atmosphere. I thought it was well officiated. I thought everything about that experience was good from a fan perspective.
And what does this do for Tony Perkins' Mr. Basketball, hopes?
Good point.
I mean, because Nigel Pack and DeAndre Davis, they might have split votes anyways at Lawrence Central, but they were coming into the year, they were the names. Obviously, there's Anthony Leal down at Bloomington South, #1 and undefeated Bloomington South. That's going to get some recognition. He's also an IU commit. Those things matter, and you wouldn't, if you don't care, we wish they didn't, but they matter to some people. But an Iowa commit coming into the season kind of was a surprise Iowa commit, because he wasn't getting a lot of...
Had Ball State. And
wasn't getting a lot of big offers, so when he committed to Iowa, we kind of raised some eyebrows, but he looks like he's the best player in the state.
Well, yeah, I mean, from an overall perspective of what he can do, not necessarily, he's not going to go out every night and score 30 points necessarily. He doesn't have to on this team, but he is the energizer. He's their emotional leader. He's a vocal leader now. He's become that this year. So all those things combined, and it'll play out still, as we get into the regional. We'll see how Galloway and that group does. We'll see how Leal and that group of Bloomington South does. And now Tony Perkins kind of carrying the flag for Central Indiana. And I think what it does really is it probably consolidates that vote somewhat. After he beat LC 3 times, his teams did. I think you're more apt if you're a Central Indiana coach maybe or media to vote for Tony Perkins. So I think that from that perspective, it definitely helps him. Whether that carries him to Mr. Basketball, I think that's yet to be seen. But it all kind of sets up, it sets up really nice if they go play Bloomington South, and it's sort of a playoff game in the semi-state. But Brownsburg, Pike, those guys will have something to say about it. New Pal's got a chance. and all those teams playing Bloomington South down at SEYMOUR do too. So a lot still to be decided, but I think that's a great point because I think now maybe the Central Indiana vote maybe goes towards him rather than Davis, Pack, or even Sincere McMahon, who I think will get some votes as well.
And he knows how to find the camera, Tony Perkins. If you had looked through our photo gallery online, Michael McEldowney, one of our great photographers, got a great shot of Tony after an and one that I'm sure our producer will pop up on the screen in post-production, right, Clark?
When Perkins did that, I looked over and I saw Michael was there, and I was like, I'm sure he got a great shot.
It was a great shot, great shot. You're making eye contact with Tony Perkins. It's fantastic. All right, so that was Sectional 10. Plenty of drama in Sectional 8. Up at Noblesville, that's the Carmel, HSE, Noblesville, Westfield, Zionsville. Zionsville opened it with a buzzer beater. Then Carmel hits a buzzer beater to win the sectional against to win semifinal against Noblesville. Just a wild sectional. And also one that I was watching, from the newsroom, I guess, on my computer. But when you watch those like Westfield and Carmel, both those teams are so young that's going to be a great battle to watch over the next 2 to 3 years.
Really, all those teams in that sectional have a lot of young players. I wrote about a lot of the season. This is kind of the year you're going to maybe get Carmel and get them out of that sectional. Covered that game early in the week against Hamilton Southeastern, and I really thought HSC had it tied 37-all. Kind of in the last few minutes there, and just couldn't get over the hump quite. They had a couple chances. Mabor Majok and Cole Hornbuckle played really, really well, but Carmel just too tough down the stretch. And Brian Waddell wrote a little Q&A with him last week, really starting to come on and be that next, that next Carmel star, I think, along with Pete Suter and a lot of really young players. But Jackson Jansen turned out to be the star in that Noblesville game, hitting a tough, kind of a fadeaway jumper. And he's a great shooter, as you see there, number 2. Here it is right here. This is just such a tough shot, almost like an NBA player would make in an NBA game. But big time play there, knocks off Noblesville, which had a chance to upset the Greyhounds on their home court. And then Carmel goes on and beat Westfield in that game. Westfield, also, like you mentioned, Matt, so young. All 3 of their top scorers are sophomores, including Braden Smith. So they'll be back. They're starting to build a culture with Shane Sumter there as their head coach, and I think they're a team that definitely is on the rise. They've never won a sectional, by the way, so this was a chance for them to finally break through, but unable to. And like you mentioned early in the week, that Fishers Zionsville game, ended up writing about the shot clock. Rewatched the game, and I don't know if a shot clock would have necessarily changed how the pace of that game was played.
23-21 final score.
23-21 on a buzzer beater. Got a ton of reaction to that on social media, so wrote a little bit more about it. But it was just one of those type of games where both teams were very conservative, and then at the end of those conservative possessions didn't either turned it over a lot or missed shots. So that contributed to being a very low score. They weren't just outright holding the ball, but it was compared to Sectional 10, which I covered later in the week, it was vastly different. And I like all styles of basketball. To me,
you like it 23-21?
I don't like it 23-21, but I understand. And also in the sectional, you're playing. Those kids are nervous.
Oh, it's survival.
It's tight, man. Every possession, especially in a game like that, is just amplified. So I get, I like teams play different styles. From a viewer's perspective, it's more fun to watch a up and down game than it is that. But I totally get, what those teams are trying to do, especially Zionsville playing that zone, and they made it tough for Fishers. But regardless, I think that game would have been, even with the shot clock, would have maybe been in the 30s and not much higher.
All right. So we have 12 teams advancing locally from the Indianapolis area. There are 2 more that will be in the Southport Regional with Lawrence North that we talked about, that being Brownsburg and Pike. You didn't get to see them in person this weekend, but you've seen the highlights, you've seen them a bunch this year. Yeah. You know Pike and Brownsburg very well. What of those 2 teams, will have them suited to play potentially at Lawrence North in the regional final? Yeah,
I was able to watch a little bit of the end of that Brownsburg Plainfield game, kind of on the web stream. But Plainfield very good all year. We talked about them a lot here, and we knew they would make a run at Brownsburg, and Brownsburg had a good lead in that game. Plainfield came back at them, and I thought Brownsburg showed a lot of toughness to be able to hold them off. And I think this is where Brownsburg expected to be, probably even last year as well, and they got upset in the sectional last year. So a chance to a little bit of redemption, and I know Steve Lynch really likes his team this year. They have Malik Edmonds healthy now, just in time for this tournament run. And we've talked about Pierce Thomas a lot, but they also have other guys, Connor Lucas, Quentin Bragg.
If Connor Lucas gets hot, he's one of the best shooters in the area.
Absolutely, and he has been at times. He's carried them point-wise at times this year. So they definitely need that third scorer and he can deliver that from the outside. And then Pike, I think, Davion Bailey, we saw turn it back on in the sectional, kind of carried them to that win over Decatur Central. Kenny Tracy's career ends, by the way, and what a career it was. Leading scorer all time for Decatur. They took Pike to overtime and at Southport. So Pike was tested. Even Perry Meridian gave him a really tough game. Roncalli in the first round was a 2-point game. So they come into this regional. They've had to work for it to get here, and they're back for the first time in a while. So I think they'll be hungry. And there's, any coach will tell you if Bailey's going, they've got some young players too. But if Bailey gets going, they're as dangerous as anybody, and that should be a great opening game. And the New Pal, of course, they were here last year in this round and won. They moved on and played in the night game, beat Avon, and played Ben Davis in a close game. But they started the year very slowly.
How much of that do you think was the football players? This is 4 years in a row they played in the state finals, and so all the wear and tear on them. They played late in the basketball season. They played late in the football season. Maybe it took a while to find their basketball legs.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the case, because football goes until they're playing Thanksgiving weekend. Basketball season's already started, and they lost a couple of those guys who were key players last year who went on and went on to their colleges. Kyle King and Maxon Hook, who were key contributors for them last year. So yeah, they're a team that's on the come up. It's going to be tough for them against LN personnel wise. But if they can get the game in their favor, Maximus Gizzi, of course, we know what he can do. I thought he played really well throughout his career, but really last year in that regional did a great job against that Avon team that was playing in its first regional in a long time. So that'll be an interesting matchup just from a stylistic perspective. And then the winner of that Pike-Brownsburg game, I think that'll be a really close game, really good game. So looking forward to seeing what happens at Southport on Saturday.
All right, well, let's go over some of these regionals, some of these pairings, the brackets, so we know who's playing who. We've already touched on Southport, so that's going to be New Pal versus Lawrence North in the first game, Brownsburg versus Pike in the second game. We have a locals, kind of a surprise regional in Greenwood. I know Center Grove, you'd expect to come out of that regional just because they play in the MIC, they're battle tested, they're playing the best teams in the state. But Greenwood, 19-6, nothing to sneeze at. So they'll be playing at SEYMOUR against Evansville Rights, and a lot of IU fans will be down there watching one Christian Lander, I have no doubt.
Yeah, Greenwood's kind of the one that sticks out because, Evansville Rights has Lander, Bloomington South undefeated, and Anthony Leal and a whole host of other players on that team. But Greenwood, I saw them earlier this year. They really play kind of an unusual style. They want the game to be in the 40s. They play inside more than outside, and that's kind of an unusual style anymore where it's more guard-oriented. They want to pound the ball inside and then make you earn every point you get.
Oh, so, Gavin Dowling, that's right.
Gavin Dowling.
The homeless man's Nikola Jokic, is that what
you call it? Yeah, the Walmart version.
Walmart version, not the homeless man, sorry. The Walmart version of Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, the quote of the year, I love that from Gavin. But they're tough. I mean, Joe Bradburn has done a great job with that program in 3 years. First time Greenwood's made it here since 2002. And that year they had the unfortunate, they won a game there that year and then lost to Pike and that Justin Cage and that group at Pike in the night game. But great opportunity for Greenwood to get there and play Evansville Rights in that first game and maybe get a shot to play Bloomington South if they get past Floyd Central.
All right, and down in 3A, Greencastle, we have 3 locals in that regional. Oh, I guess I forgot Logansport in 4A. Sorry, Carmel. I live in Carmel. It's okay. So Carmel against New Haven. Marion versus Fort Wayne Snyder. Marion, the record might be misleading, but they've got, their battle, their schedule is always one of the toughest, and they've got talent, obviously, the Blackman, Jalen Blackman. Has he already broken his brother's record?
Not yet. He's actually out because of that knee injury.
Well, then never mind.
But J.K. Thomas had, I think, 30-plus points in their sectional championship.
Who needs a Blackman when J.K. Thomas?
They are still very talented, though, and that'll be. I did see Fort Wayne Snyder earlier this year too, and that's Michael Ely is a good guard for them, and they have a lot of talented weapons there. Carmel, I think, though, will be the favorite, and they just continue to do well under Ryan Osborne, who's just kind of carried the mantle since Scott Heddy moved on to Marion. Okay,
now let's get down to Class 3A. Greencastle, 3 locals, Danville, Beech Grove, Brebeuf. Brownstown Central's in there with a losing record. So what do you expect from this Greencastle regional?
I like Danville's team. I've seen them a few times this year. I like Brebeuf as well. And Beech Grove has been there now. This is their second year to make it under Mike Renfro, and they're very. I saw them earlier this year too. Very tough, very balanced team, very good defensively. Danville is kind of built a little bit the same way, maybe slightly more offensive-minded than Beech Grove, but I like this Danville team after seeing them a few times. Dylan Ware has really turned it on. Again, he had 31 points in their sectional championship win. They get through a tough sectional at Greencastle, where Greencastle ended up getting knocked out in their first game against Frankfurt. So it became a little bit easier of a route for Danville. But that should be very competitive over at Greencastle. I like Brebeuf's team as well. So I think that could end up being a Brebeuf Danville in the championship game out there. But don't overlook Beech Grove either.
Okay, and then probably will be the most well-attended regional is going to be at the Hatchet House in Washington. When you look at the 4 teams there, Heritage Hills, Silver Creek, Greensburg, and then the host Washington. You wish you could be cloned on Saturday and your clone could be at Washington. You will be at Southport. But just tell us what that Washington regional is going to look like.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I mean, it will be the following week for semi-state, I'm sure, as well, and we'll probably have a local team down there playing in that one.
Okay, so you'll get to go down there.
Hopefully get to go down there. But you know, the Blake Sisley from Heritage Hills, really nice player. They played up here at Southport in December, and I thought he showed really well. That'll be a fun matchup between him and Trey Kaufman of Silver Creek, which is defending state champs in 3A. And we know what they can do. You know, I think everybody around the state is aware of Silver Creek now. Cooper Jacoby and Northern, the guard, and that's a really, really good team. But yeah, then Washington, the host team. Greensburg brings a huge crowd everywhere they go. You couldn't ask for 4 schools that are going to bring their whole communities. So that'll be fun, and they're relatively big communities too. So that'll be a great atmosphere down there in the regional. And regardless of who wins, I would kind of give it to Silver Creek to be the favorite. But you're going to get tested. Greensburg, we've seen them as well. They were in the Southport event as well, the Tip-Off Classic in December.
Do they have another Wheelage?
No, well, they have, yeah, they do.
Did I pronounce it incorrectly?
Wellage.
So I threw you off. It's my fault.
Yeah, Ryan is done at Xavier now, but Andrew Wellage is still there, and he kind of carries the torch for that team. They've got a lot of really good players, though, and Stacy Meyer does a great job there for the Pirates. So that could be a fun matchup if they play Silver Creek or even Heritage Hills in the championship there. So if you want to get to a good atmosphere in the state, and you're not affiliated with any team anymore, that'd be a great place to go.
All right, Class 2A, we have locals in the Greenfield-Central Regional. Just one, Covenant Christian plays South Decatur, and then there's Park Heritage versus Shenandoah. Look at those records. Covenant Christian's going to be up against it in that regional.
Well, the fun thing about that game, and again, if you want to see just a fun game in general, Covenant Christian loves to get up and down. They play a kind of a racehorse style. They made the city semifinals this year. Got a chance to see them play there. Very fun style of play. And then South Decatur went down and wrote about their story earlier this year, the highest scoring team in the state. So it's going to be, that game could be 95 to 93.
So take the over.
Take the over. Yeah, don't bet on high school.
No, don't bet on high school sports. Don't do it. It's not legal. It's not legal. It's not on the DraftKings app.
But that should be a really fun game regardless of the outcome. And I think Covenant Christian's got a chance to get into that championship game. And Shenandoah, I think, will be the team to beat there. Dave McCullough, of course, the former Noblesville coach, has really built that program into something special in his time there. So they are the experienced team. They've kind of been at the top of the polls all year, right around that 1, 2, 3 spot all season. So, but a chance for Covenant Christian, I think, is a scary team that's played a really good schedule and is probably better than that 19-7 record would indicate. I think they're pretty loaded for a good run. Trey Flatt, the son of Coach Scott Flatt, nice junior guard for them.
Okay, all right, now let's go down to Class A to the Martinsville Regional, where we have International against Bloomfield, and then Oldenburg Academy versus Greenwood Christian.
Yeah, this is going to be, again, very good regional. International is kind of the upstart. Scott Adams, their coach. Jaden Thomas is their best player. I wrote about him this summer, and he's very open about the fact that other schools were recruiting him away from International. So I'm actually going to go talk to him a little bit, and we'll have something this week on International. But a cool story. They've never won a sectional before, and honestly, this program hasn't done very well over the last several years. But Scott Adams has kind of been able to keep his players there, and they've reaped the benefits now, and going on to after beating Metropolitan, go on and play in the regional. Yeah, but Greenwood Christian, that's probably they're one of the best teams in the area. I mean, Johnny Marlin has done a great job with that program. They are tested now. They've done this before, so will be interesting to see how far they can take it. All year I've kind of had the Bar Reeve Greenwood Christian game kind of in mind that could happen in the semi-state, and we're still a round away from that. And there's some teams in that. Bloomfield always a traditionally strong program, is in that regional. And then Greenwood Christian Oldenburg Academy had to get through Morristown to advance. They have a really good player, Josh Johnson, who averages more than 20 points a game. So will be interesting. That's not an easy draw necessarily for Greenwood Christian, but that Bar Reeve matchup could be looming down the road.
Okay, and Bar Reeve plays against, or in Lagodi. I said
Yeah.
Lagodi. It's Lagodi. I know that. All right. We got anything else you want to talk about? We covered it all?
I think we covered about everything.
Okay. Well, be sure to go to IndyStar.com/sports for all the coverage. We do have one more thing.
That's right.
That's right.
As
We
Clark
usually
holds up the 360
yes,
sign.
as my producer says, Matt, you've screwed up again. Here we go. So usually we end with the dunk of the night, or the dunk of the week. We've got something that's not quite a dunk, but will certainly...
Just as good.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. Here it is. This is Malik Stanley of Warren Central, splitting the D up. Hello.
So I asked him after the game. He said didn't plan that, didn't know he was going to do that.
How do you plan that?
I guess you can't.
Yeah,
really.
no,
You saw Charlie Peterson 6'8" with his arms extended and had to figure out a way to get around it. But that shot, and also I was talking to Clark about Sincere McMahon had a shot off the top of the backboard. I don't know how he got that in over a defender. I think it was Omar Cooper was trying to basically blast it out of the gym, but he got that in somehow late in that LN game. There was a lot of amazing plays like that.
No, that was a ridiculous layup. So Malik Stanley, play of the week, goes to you. All right, now it's time for the sign-off. Okay, so for all your high school basketball needs, Kyle Neddenriep will have you covered. He's going to have tons of coverage on IndyStar.com/sports. Again, he is Kyle Neddenriep. Follow him on Twitter at Kyle Neddenriep.
Yes.
I won't ask him to spell it. You know how to spell it. He's been around here for 12 years. You know it. All right, I'm Matt Glenesk. He's Kyle. We're out.